Good day, my name is Viktoria Энефорс, and today I'm going to talk about my passion, a hobby. I'm going to talk about a historical person, and I'm going also to talk about Renaissance food. Yes, my big passion is for a historical person called Katariне Ягеллонке, Catherine of Jagiellon, or Katarzyna Ягеллонka as her name is in Polish. She was a Polish princess who became a Swedish queen. I'm from Poland and I live in Sweden, so this is really important for me. It all started the year 1993 when I was a 11 years old girl. I went to school and we were having a lesson in history. So when I opened the book, I saw the picture, the painting of the queen, Polish princess becoming a queen. The portrait was painted by Lucas Cranach the Younger. That made the passion. And today, 28 years later, the passion is still that strong. In 2018, I went for Vilnius to Lithuania. I visited the palace of the Grand Duke. You know, the both countries, Poland and Lithuania, were in union. So the Polish Jagiellonian king were the Grand Dukes of Lithuania. In the palace of the Grand Dukes, I saw very much of Katarina, her heritage, and Katarina's family too. So I wanted to make something for Katarina, as the palace did. So I decided that I should make her dress, the dress that she has on the portrait of Lucas Cranach the Younger. So I went to the mall the same evening and I bought 2 or 3 necklaces. I broke the necklaces and I have a hand of pearls. That was the beginning of the project. Then I came home to Sweden and it was 5 of very intensive months that I made the dress. It was really important to me that the dress should be made in the places where the queen lived. So I was sewing by hand most of the dress. 5 months later, I came back to Vilnius to the palace of the Grand Duke with a finished dress. I made the dress finished in Vilnius at the anniversary of Katarina and her husband John. So here, this is the dress. I'm really proud over it. I'm really happy for this dress. The next year, the year 2019, was a really important year for me and for Katarina and for Poland and Sweden, their history, because that was the year when it was the 450th anniversary of Katarina Ягеллонка's coronation. She had her coronation in Uppsala Cathedral, and I wanted to make something special for her. So you could say that I lived Katarina Ягеллонка life that year. I wanted to make a reconstruction of her coronation process. I went by a boat on Lake Mälaren from Stockholm to Uppsala in a really old boat, so it took me 2 days, but that's the way that she came to her coronation from Stockholm. So I did the same. And the second part of her coronation, it was that I, the queen, I meet people in the castle, Uppsala Castle. Katarina is showing her castle and she is meeting the people. So I had performance in Uppsala Castle, and I had guided tours too in this dress. The third part of the coronation process was the 10th of July. 2019. That was the day when the couple was coronated to be the King of Sweden and the Queen of Sweden. John became the King John III, Vasa. So at the day I went to the cathedral, I was in the church the whole day. I was telling the tourists and the visitors about the Queen, about her life, about the dress, and about the historical relationship between Sweden and Poland. And at the evening I went to Uppsala Castle, and I invited those people that they are working for the Queen, that they are working at the castle, Vasaborgen, for a Renaissance meal. This Renaissance meal took me maybe 7, 8 or 9 hours to make, to cook. It was very beautiful moment. Everybody was dressed in historical clothes. It was a very beautiful evening, I would say. And the fourth part is when the Queen is ready to go from Uppsala. She and John, they have been coronated and they are ready to move to another castle. So the Queen, she meets the people. I have my last performance and I say goodbye. So that was that. You could say I have activities the whole year, that 450 years from her coronation. So I went by boat in other ways. I went in the Baltic Sea by a big ship. I went with another boat from Stockholm to Mariefred, Gripsholms Castle. I made a doll. I would like to show you this doll. This is Katariне Ягеллонке. I was thinking that it should be a doll here. This doll is a gift for Katariне. It's my doll. I made the doll, but it's for Katariне. I want to do something special and something unique. So why not a doll? And last year was a little bit special, but I was representing the Jagiellons, the Jagiellonian dynasty. I was Katariне Ягеллонке, and I was in Poland. Last year was 500 years since Katarine's brother, King Sigismund II August and the Grand Duke of Lithuania, was born. It was thanks to Sigismund August that Katariне became Queen of Sweden, because John had to have her brother permission to marry her. So I visit many towns and cities where Sigismund August lived as Katariне, and I was a guest at a festival of tastes in Lublin. Lublin was a town, a city where the Jagiellonian family stayed when they went from Krakow to Vilnius. If you want to visit places here in Sweden that are related to Katariне, there are plenty of them, but I would like to mention 3 of them. The first is, like I told you, Uppsala Castle. Katariне lived there, and her coronation party and her children lived in Uppsala Castle. She wrote letters for her sisters and for her brother, and it came letters from Poland to Uppsala, to Katariine, but also it was a moment for Sigismund, her son, Katarina's son, when he had to give up the thought of making Sweden a Catholic country again. He had to accept what his uncle, Duke Karl, wanted, that Sweden would be a Lutheran country, Swedish church. So that decision to give up Catholic Church was also in Uppsala Castle. And an important decision was when King Gustav II Adolf made the decision that he would go to war with Poland, a big and long war which was going on in 30 years. That decision was also made at Uppsala Castle. So it's really important castle, Uppsala Castle, for Poland and Sweden. The second place is Livrustkammaren. I think you should go there if you are in Stockholm or Sweden. It's a part of the royal castle in Stockholm it's opened as a museum. There is one thing that belongs to Sigismund II August, Katarina's brother. It was sent to Sweden by Katarina's sister Anna Ягеллонке, Queen of Poland. I won't say what it is because I want to be a surprise, but I would recommend you to go to Livrustkammaren. The third place that is important for history, both countries and Katarina, is the castle of Gripsholm, Gripsholm's castle, in a village named Mariefred. Katarina was prisoner there because Eric, John's brother, wanted them to be in prison. He was really angry for John, his little brother, who married Katarina without his permission. And in Gripsholm Castle, Katarina gave birth to two children, Princess Isabella, who died only 2 years old, and to her son Sigismund. Later, Sigismund Vasa, King of Poland and Sweden and Grand Duke of Lithuania. So that's the places that are important for Katarina. Now I was thinking that I would tell you a little about Katarina. Yes, she was a Polish princess, a princess of Lithuania, Duchess of Finland, Turku, and Queen of Sweden. Katarina was born in Krakow, in Poland. She was the youngest child of Bona Sforza from Italy, Milan, and she was the daughter of the big king, Sigismund I, called Sigismund the Old. The couple wanted to have a lot of children, a lot of kids, so they would help them and marry with king and princess in other countries. So the dynasty would be strong. When Katarina marries John III, and then both of her parents are dead, it's her brother who is making all important decisions for her. Katarina leaves Lithuania when she's 36 years old, and she never comes back. The wedding is held in Vilnius, and John comes from Finland with a big ship, his best ship, and he's 11 years younger than Katarina. Afterwards, after the wedding, the couple are going to Finland, to Turku, where they live, are happy for like half a year, and then King Eric XIV gets mad and orders John and Katarina come to Sweden, and then they become prisoners. Later, John becomes king and Katarina is queen of Sweden. that's about Katarina. As you see and understand, there's a lot to tell about Katarina, but I don't have so much time. I can also say that she's buried in Uppsala Cathedral, the same place where she had her coronation. She lived happy with John. They have had a happy marriage, and John married to another woman named Gunilla Jalka after Katarina's death, but the one that he was really happy with is Katarina. Well, now I'm going to tell you about the Renaissance food. Another of my big passion and my great hobby is Renaissance food. I have always a big interest in Renaissance food since the middle of 90s, but in 2018 I want to do something special for Eric the 14th, John's big brother. He was having his anniversary with Karin Månsdotter, so I decided that I should bring my 4 best friends for dinner and invite them for a Renaissance meal. I was thinking that you are going to see the picture. I want to show you the pictures of the Renaissance meal. But it was with Eric and Karin Månsdotter that it started. It's one thing if you are only interested with something, but it's a whole other thing if you are interested in something and if you are also cooking the food. Like I said, you will see the pictures. I want to say that it's really amazing, the Renaissance food. It was a big difference in the food. What royalties, king, queen, princess ate, what the nobility ate, and priests, cardinals, and what the peasants, the poor people ate. When we are speaking about king and the queen and nobility, priests, it's always fancy, very lot of food, many dishes. They could eat like 50 dishes at one night. It was supposed to look gorgeous, fantastic and beautiful, and the person that invited for the feast wanted to show what he or she has. So it was a lot of everything. It was a lot of meat from cows, pigs, but also wild animals like deers, rabbits, birds, turkeys, swans, doves, and something that was typical then but not so usual today, that the royalties, they ate meat of bear, you know, the big bear in the forest. And they ate meat of bear and the skin of bear with the head and arms and legs they used as a carpet in the castle. I also want to mention something about the pies. It was really typical eating pie. The pie had supposed to have a surprise in the pie, and it often happened that the servant went out and captured a little bird, and the bird got something to eat, and the bird later was sleepy, and when the bird was sleeping, the bird was put on to the pie. the pie was making finished into the oven, and then when the people supposed to eat the pie and they start to cut, then the bird woke up and flew away. So that was something that they did to surprise the guests. Today we don't think it's so fancy. We don't. Maybe we get disgust of it, but that was a way of bringing joy and surprising the guests. In John and Katarina's time, you ate only twice a day, from 9 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock, and later from 3 or 4 o'clock to 6 or 7 o'clock. Like I mentioned, there was many dishes, so you have to eat and eat and eat. That's why it took so much time. If you want to read about Renaissance food, there are plenty of books, but I would like to recommend the book called Opera, that's written by Bartolomeo Scappi, an Italian man who worked for the Pope, so he had to make good food. There is everything written, and there is a new version of the book in English, and it's Terence Scully who has worked with the book, so I strongly recommend it. The poor people often ate dried bread. On the bread maybe cheese that they made from cows, or only bread, or they didn't eat anything, or they ate porridge. All the material that the poor people and the peasant farmers ate were of tree. A spoon and such a thing, a cup. Everything is of tree. The king and the queen and the nobilities, they had a lot of money, so they could buy glasses. They look like this. And the king had a special cup. It was closed, and the reason why it was closed, that the king was afraid of being poisoned. You know, it was a big, risky chance for the enemy to poison the king. So the king had a taster, someone who tasted the king's food, and later the cup was closed. When it comes to plates, and the plates were of silver or tin, it was full of food, and the fork looked like this, and a little knife. It was entertainment to come to such a royal dinner. All the things that you saw there, you could say to another, and the other one would know, oh, he has this, and then I must do the same. It was very usual by nobilities that if one nobleman had 40 dishes, then his neighbor, another nobleman, had 45 dishes to be better. It's really fantastic time Renaissance. I think that many people are interested in this food. I hope that more people will study about Renaissance food, and like I said, there is much to say, more to say about Katarina, about Renaissance food, about my hobby, but I don't have so much time, so I want to say that it was really fun and nice to be here with you. One thing only I don't want to forget is my dolls. The other dolls that I have made, it's the whole family, no, not whole family, but a part of the family. Katarina's two sisters and the second wife of Sigismund August. So this was all what I have to tell you today, this time. I hope that we will see each other again. Thank you very much. Bye.